I first learned about sex the first time, I accidentally walked in on someone watching porn, and they didn't know, so I was like, it was like when I was about 7, and so I figured that that was probably a private thing, and then a lot of the kids were talking about like body parts in the schoolyard, and so it was like, when I saw that, I was like, that must be the thing. So that's when I first heard about it. I guess my first actual lesson about it was like around 5th grade when they started talking about like the little brown bag and periods, and I didn't get it. But yeah, it all seemed kind of shady and I didn't know why. When I was 15, how old is that? That's like 2nd year of high school, right? I didn't know much about it. It was funny because I used to do like an online role-playing thing in like forums. I would type back and forth at people. And so like I would have like quote-unquote cyber sex with a lot of people, TMI. But I mean the point is that like I would write characters grinding, and I didn't actually know at the time yet that like the whole idea of penetration, well I did know about that, but like why it feels good and stuff like that, and like the little things that the body does, like the veins and all that. Just basically a lot of the anatomy I just didn't entirely understand when it comes to like fluids and stuff. And I used to didn't understand certain things that would be mentioned in porn, like why like hardness and wetness was an important thing. I just knew that it was the thing, but I mean that could be misleading because now I know that size doesn't matter. And I wish I knew all the stuff I know now. And all the stuff I know now is from like going into feminism and then looking up sex positivity and consent and all those things. And honestly, like my journey into that was after having survived an abusive relationship and wanting to get involved, and then realizing as I would hear like other feminists like allude to certain issues, I was like, that kind of sounds like, oh, that must be it. And then so I wish I actually had learned about readiness, because at the time when I was first really getting passionate about comprehensive sex ed, I didn't know what to call it, and I was like, well, you know, I don't want to pretend like sex is like this wonderful thing and there aren't consequences, emotionally or physically, but then I was also learning about people who, you know, could have sexual partners and not regret it, and I only knew about the regret part and the saving it part, which is also okay, but when I finally learned about the term readiness, that was really cool, and about consent, and you can actually set boundaries, not just for like intercourse itself, but just for any display of affection that you're not okay with if you want to take steps. So readiness was something that I really wish was taught in high school, because that gives people a better way of thinking about sex, I think, in terms of, do I really want it? Why do I want it? Is it really for me? Am I prepared for either any feelings of shame or the surprising lack thereof, which is pretty cool. So, yeah.
Could you define sex positivity?
Sex positivity, I keep having like discussions about it. So a lot of people I ask will just who do identify with sex positivity will tell me like, oh, you just don't judge, and as long as everything's consensual. But for me, sex positivity means to just take the extra step of, I think you should know more about sex than you would actually ever engage in, because for me that kind of means that you're actually setting boundaries and you actually know about other people's sexuality and the many complexities that it comes with. And then you can actively be like, yeah, I'm into that, or I'm not into that, but I get it and I can respect that. So that's what sex positivity means to me, and just also the integration of personal well-being and healthiness with sexual pleasure.
Can you maybe talk about what consent is and how to ask for consent in a sexual relationship?
How to ask for consent. So it's one of my favorite topics because I like taking a very practical approach to it. I guess, consent is sexy, and coming from somebody who did have trust issues and control issues, meeting someone who found it very natural, just treated it as perfectly normal to just literally ask for everything, made me feel really safe, because it gave me the option to say no, because otherwise I would have just felt tense, and I wouldn't want to be rude, and then I would just kind of hope that they would read my body language. And then some people might just ignore it, which is the problem, I think. And so having that person ask me, like, can I touch your arm? Can I hug you? Can I kiss you? And then being able to say no, and then being like, okay, then I'll just do what we've already agreed that we could do. And if there was any time where I was really like, no, I need to just be my own person, I could like retract consent completely to any kind of contact, which is really empowering and liberating, and it kind of helped me come into my person, just to be able to feel comfortable again, and to actually want more. Like being able to say no lets me be able to say yes. And so for me, the ways you can kind of ask for consent is not only, I guess, do you want this or do you not want this? That could be a little scary because it's like yes or no. But maybe like asking, do you want more of this or do you want less of this, kind of makes it more of like a spectrum. It's like, I really like this, and it's like, I could like this, but it's like so. So that could be more of an interesting talk about what your preferences are, what you favor, instead of this whole like, no, I just don't like this because you suck. Which I guess some people are afraid of.
Is there anything else that you'd want to add?
No, let's see. I think that covered everything.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.